Okay, and I can move all the amendments in this group, is it, from People Before Profit?
Okay, on you go.
So, like the other opposition parties, we have a series of amendments which seek to extend the protections that this bill proposes to extend only till July very considerably further. We have gone the furthest in saying they should be extended until April 2021, and I'll explain why we think that's right, but we obviously support all the other parties' amendments as well. That go very considerably further than the government. We also share and have amendments to oppose Section 2 for the reasons that have been set out already and explained by Threshold, in that this bill in effect strips a cohort of people who did enjoy some protection from the protections they previously had under COVID. But also, People Before Profit have put in another amendment, which I think is unique to us, is to try and extend the protections to other cohorts of tenants who we do not believe can or should be evicted in the midst of a pandemic on grounds of sale, on grounds of refurbishment, or any other grounds. And that really is the key, you see. And that's why, Minister, and I stand over it, others have called it Orwellian, your defences. I've called it a deception and a fraud, but I think we're all trying to get at the same thing. Why is it a deception and a fraud? Because the government is presenting this bill as if it is protecting tenants in the midst of COVID. When in fact, a tiny group of tenants, and any protection is welcome at some level, but in truth, it only extends for a few months protections to a tiny group. The rest of those tenants, it is the government's policy decision, because it hasn't protected them in this bill, is that as of April the 5th, the green light is given for them to be evicted in the midst of a pandemic. That is the truth of what the government are doing. And you see, I have tried to give the Minister the benefit of moving beyond politicking, abstract discussions, to give real, tangible examples. You see, and really all this debate only means anything when you apply it to real, tangible examples. And of course it's the reason the Minister doesn't respond. For real people in St Helens Court in Dún Laoghaire, they have notices which say they will be evicted 10 days after the 5-kilometre rule is lifted, which is likely to happen on April the 5th. So all of those families and individuals who have never engaged in antisocial behaviour, have always paid their rent, who are working people, shop workers, carers, people working in restaurants, pensioners, taxi drivers, people I know personally now because I have been fighting alongside them for 4 years against 4 successive attempts by ruthless, vicious vulture funds trying to drive them out of their apartment complex in central Dún Laoghaire. And you are not protecting them. Okay? That's the truth. They're out. And they are already, as a result of that, engaging with homeless services. And because there are no council houses available, and because there are about 4,000 families on the housing list, they will be sent to emergency homeless accommodation. Unless they can get a HAP, but rents in Dún Laoghaire are now running at $2,000 to $2,200 and $2,400 for 2- and 3-bedroom apartments. Their current rents are about $1,000. How are they going to pay such rent? They can't. They can't. So they're going to be homeless. What are you going to do about it? Answer, in this bill, nothing. They will be knocking on the door of homeless services, and some of them will be sent into hostels in town with their children in conditions which are going to make more likely the transmission of COVID-19. Precisely the thing that you say this bill is designed to prevent. So even on public health grounds, never mind the need to protect tenants from ruthless operations like Mill Street's projects and like Apollo Global Management, or whatever they're called, these wealth asset management speculator, vicious, inhumane people, you're going to allow the green light for them to be evicted. And that's why it's a deception and a fraud. So what we're asking, Minister, is to effectively reimpose the blanket ban on evictions during a pandemic. Okay, that's what we're asking. And in the meantime, all the nuances you're arguing for, we can discuss. We can sort them out. If you say it's more complicated, and I agree in some areas it's more complicated, let's reimpose the blanket ban that actually protected people in the midst of a pandemic, and then use that the intervening period to do the more nuanced stuff, which you say needs to be done. So that is our argument, Minister. And if you want to protect tenants in the midst of a pandemic, people who have done nothing wrong, who aren't antisocial, who haven't generated arrears through any fault of their own, or who have done nothing as wrong as tenants, if that is your genuine intention, you will accept the amendments that the opposition have been put forward. If you do not accept those amendments, you are in fact deceiving the public, and this bill is a fraud in terms of its claim to protect tenants during the pandemic.
Thank you, Deputy.